I didn't bang on the door. I didn't scream. I didn't beg my own daughter to let me out of the guest room she'd locked me in from the outside. I just sat on the edge of the twin bed, listening to her footsteps walk away down the hallway. And I heard her say something to her husband, Derek, that made my blood go still. He'll sign it by Wednesday. Trust me, he won't have a choice. Then she laughed, light and casual. The way you laugh when you're talking about picking up groceries. Not about imprisoning your 71-year-old father in a room with no lock on the inside and a window that had been painted shut since 2014. My left knee was throbbing. I hadn't eaten since that morning. There was a glass of water on the nightstand and a sleeve of saltine. Crackers she'd tossed on the bed before she closed the door. Like I was a dog being kennel-led. But here's the thing she didn't know. There was a camera in the hallway. A small one, wireless, mounted inside the smoke detector directly above the guest room door. It had been recording every movement on that floor for the last 11 days. And it wasn't hers. It was mine. Let me go back. My name is Arthur Malloy. I'm 71 years old. I live in a brown brick house in Rochester, Minnesota, the same house I bought in 1986 with my wife Gloria. We raised 2 kids here. Hosted every Thanksgiving for 30 years. Buried a dog in the backyard in 1999 and planted a magnolia tree over him. Gloria and I used to sit on the porch every evening after dinner, even in winter, even when it was stupid cold. Because she said the stars looked better when you were shivering, Gloria died 14 months ago, pancreatic. It was fast. 8 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. One day she was complaining about a backache. Then she was gone. After the funeral, I didn't do much of anything for a while. I ate cereal for dinner. I stopped mowing the lawn. I watched television shows I couldn't remember the names of 5 minutes after they ended. I was 70 years old and I had no idea what I was supposed to do with myself inside a house that still smelled like her lotion. What most people don't know about me is that before I retired, I spent 28 years working for the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, specifically the Financial Crimes and Fraud Division. I investigated embezzlement, identity theft, elder exploitation, inheritance fraud. I was the one they sent into nursing homes when families called saying grandma's money was disappearing. I sat across from sons and daughters and nieces and nephews who had drained their own parents, counts and smiled while doing it. I'd seen every version of this story. I just never expected to live inside one. Gloria made me promise when I retired that I'd leave the suspicion behind. Not everyone is running a scheme, Arthur, she'd say when I questioned a too good to be true price at the hardware store. She was right. I tried. For her I tried, but Gloria wasn't here anymore. And the instincts she'd asked me to put away were the only thing that saved me, my daughter. Karen is 42. She married Derek Schofield 6 years ago. Derek sells commercial insurance, or says he does. He's the kind of man who always has a deal about to close, but never quite closes one. Always driving a leased car 1 tier above what he can afford. Always checking his phone during dinner with a look on his face like he's managing a Fortune 500 company when he's actually checking his fantasy football scores. Karen was different. When Gloria was alive, attentive, called every Sunday, drove up from Des Moines for every birthday. But after the funeral, something shifted. The calls got shorter. Then they started coming with questions attached. Dad, have you thought about what you're going to do with the house? Dad, Derek and I were talking. It doesn't make sense for you to be alone in a 4-bedroom house. Dad, have you updated your will since Mom passed? 3 months after the funeral, they offered to move in. Just temporarily, Karen said, until you're back on your feet. Eric squeezed my shoulder and said, We're family, Art. Let us help. I said yes, because I was lonely, because the house was too quiet, because I thought my daughter loved me. That was my mistake. The first month was fine. Karen cooked dinners. Derek fixed the leaking faucet in the upstairs bathroom. They bought new curtains for the living room. I thought maybe this was going to work. Maybe this was what the next chapter looked like. Then the small things started. Dad, would you mind using the downstairs bathroom? Derek's got a system going upstairs. I moved my toiletries downstairs without argument. Dad, we need the study for Derek's office. He's got calls all day. Would you mind reading in your bedroom? I took my books upstairs. Dad, we're having friends over Saturday. It might be easier if you stayed upstairs for the evening. You know how loud it gets? Stayed in my room and listened to strangers laughing in my living room? Each ask was reasonable by itself. Each one shaved away a little more of my own home. By month 3, I was living in the guest room. Not the master. Not the room I'd shared with Gloria for 38 years. Karen had moved into the master bedroom 2 weeks after they arrived. Said the mattress was better for Derek's back. I started noticing things in month 4. Mail going missing. Specifically anything from the bank or from Edward Jones, where Gloria and I had our retirement accounts. I'd check the mailbox at 2 p.m. and it would be empty. Karen would say the mail came late, or that she'd already brought it in, or that there was nothing today. Then I found the document. It was a Tuesday. Karen had taken Derek's car to the mechanic. Derek was at the kitchen table on a call. I went to the study, the one they'd taken over, to find a pen. The desk drawer was open about 2 inches. Inside, I saw a manila folder with a yellow sticky note on it that said, Dad POA. POA, Power of Attorney.I. Opened the folder. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a durable power of attorney form assigning Karen Elizabeth Schofield full legal authority over all financial decisions and medical decisions for Arthur James Malloy. My name was typed on the signature line. It was unsigned. The second was a letter from a real estate attorney in Des Moines regarding the estimated value of 1847 Birchwood Lane, Rochester, Minnesota, my house, appraised at $410,000. The third was a printout from an assisted living facility called Sunrise Meadows in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Monthly cost $6,400, highlighted in yellow marker. At the bottom, someone had written in pen, savings should cover 3 to 4 years. House sale covers the rest. I stood there holding those 3 papers and something cold crawled up the back of my neck. Not anger. Something quieter and worse. Recognition. I had investigated this exact crime 47 times in my career. A family member gains access to an elderly parent, isolates them, restricts their autonomy, prepares legal documents to seize financial control, then places the parent in a facility and liquidates their assets. I had testified in court about this pattern. I had trained investigators to identify it, and now it was happening to me. I photographed every document with my phone, both sides, close-ups of the handwriting, the attorney's letterhead, the facility brochure. I put everything back exactly as I found it, closed the drawer to the same 2-inch gap, and walked back to the guest room. That night at dinner, I watched Karen cut Derek's steak for him because he'd burned his hand on the grill. She was gentle about it, attentive. She could be kind when she wanted to be. That was the part that made my chest hurt. Dad, you're quiet tonight, she said. Just tired, I said. You should rest more. At your age, fatigue can be a sign of cognitive decline. She said it with a concerned smile. The same smile I'd seen on the faces of 47 other people sitting across from me in interrogation rooms. The next morning, I drove to Best Buy and purchased 2 wireless cameras. Small ones. Battery-powered. Motion-activated. I'd used this brand in 3 different investigations. They record to a cloud server. No wires, no blinking lights. Nearly invisible, I installed the first one inside the smoke detector. Housing in the upstairs hallway, directly facing the guest room door. I installed the second one behind a book on the shelf in the study, angled toward the desk. Then I waited. The cameras captured 11 days of footage before the lock appeared on my door. Day 2, Karen and Derek at the desk going through a folder. Derek pointing at numbers on a spreadsheet. Karen saying, if we list the house in March, we can close by May. Day 4, Karen on the phone with someone. He's cooperative right now. I just need him to sign before he gets suspicious. Laughter. No, Mom left everything to him. The house, the accounts, everything. But once I have the POA, it all flows through me. Day 6. Derek in the hallway outside my door at 11 p.m. standing completely still for 40 seconds. Then walking away. I don't know what he was doing. I don't want to know. Day 8. Karen removing mail from the mailbox. Sorting through it on the kitchen counter. Putting 2 envelopes in her purse. Both from Edward Jones. Day 9. Karen on the phone again. The assisted living place needs a deposit by the 15th. I told them we'd have the POA filed by then. He doesn't know. He thinks we're here to help. Day 11. Derek installing a sliding bolt lock on the outside of the guest room door. Karen, watching from the hallway. He's going to fight this, Derek said. Not for long, Karen said. That was a Thursday. On Friday morning, Karen knocked on my door and brought me breakfast. Eggs and toast. She sat on the edge of the bed and held my hand. Dad, I need to talk to you about something important. She pulled out the power of attorney form, the same one I'd already photographed. This is just a precaution, she said. It gives me the ability to help manage your finances, your accounts, the house. If anything ever happened to you, I wouldn't be able to do anything without this. It's standard. I looked at the form. Then I looked at my daughter. I'd like to have my lawyer look at it first, I said. Her face didn't change. But something behind her eyes went flat. Dad, lawyers cost money. This is a simple form. I'm your daughter. I'd still like to wait. There's a deadline with the bank. If we don't file this by the 15th, there could be complications with the accounts. There was no deadline. There's never a deadline. Artificial urgency. The oldest lever in the fraud playbook. I had literally written a training manual that included that exact sentence. I'll think about it, I said. She stood up, took the form, walked out. That night I heard the bolt slide shut from the outside. I got up and tried the door. Locked. I went back to bed. I didn't panic. I pulled out my phone and checked the camera feeds. Both still recording. Both backed up to the cloud server. Whatever happened in this room, whatever happened to my phone. The footage was already safe. 6 days. She kept me in that room for 6 days. She brought food twice a day. Water. She took my car keys on day 2. She told me on day 3 that my phone service had been disconnected for non-payment. It hadn't. I had autopay. But she didn't know I knew that. On day 4, she brought the POA form again. Dad, just sign this and everything goes back to normal. You can come out. We can be a family again. And if I don't sign, then I think we need to talk about whether you're capable of making these decisions on your own. Derek knows a doctor who does cognitive assessments. If you're found incompetent, the court appoints a guardian anyway. It might as well be me. She said it gently, almost lovingly. The way you explain something complicated to a child. I said nothing. She left. The bolt slid shut. On day 5, I texted Margaret Chen. Margaret was a prosecutor I'd worked with for 16 years at the BCA. She'd retired 2 years before me. We still had coffee every few months. I trusted her with my life. I sent her 3 things. The cloud server login for both cameras, the photographs of the documents, and for words, it's happening to me. She called me within 20 minutes. I whispered so Karen wouldn't hear. Arthur, Margaret said, and her voice had that particular steadiness I recognized from decades of working together. The voice she used when something was very bad and very clear. I'm watching the footage right now. This is false imprisonment. This is attempted elder financial exploitation. This is criminal. I know what it is, I said. I wrote the manual. I'm calling Judge Rivera. He'll issue an emergency order tonight. I'm also calling Olmsted County Adult Protection. And I'm coming there myself tomorrow morning with law enforcement. Margaret, what? Make sure they don't use sirens. I don't want her to run before they get inside. A pause. Then a sound that might have been a laugh. You're still the best investigator I ever worked with. I'm a 71-year-old man locked in his own guest room eating saltine crackers. I'm not the best anything right now. You had cameras installed before she made her move. You backed everything up to a remote server. You documented every piece of evidence. You maintained operational calm for 6 days under unlawful confinement. You are exactly what you always were, Arthur. You're just working your last case." She hung up. I sat on the bed in the dark and waited one more night. Day 6, 8 in the morning. I heard vehicles in the driveway. 2 of them. No sirens. Then the front door opened. Not knocked on, opened. "Margaret had the emergency court," ordered Karen's voice from the kitchen, confused, then alarmed. "What is this?" "You can't just come in here, Derek." Derek. His footsteps on the stairs. The bolt on my door slid open. A uniformed officer from the Olmsted County Sheriff's Department looked at me, sitting on the bed. "Mr. Malloy." "That's me." "Are you able to walk, sir?" "I've been able to walk for 6 days. I just haven't been allowed to." He escorted me downstairs. In the living room, Karen was standing by the couch. Derek was next to her with his phone in his hand like he was about to call someone but couldn't figure out who. Margaret was sitting at my dining room table with a laptop open showing. The camera footage, Karen looked at me, and I watched. Her face cycled through 4 expressions in 3 seconds: confusion, recognition, fear, and then something I can only describe as calculation. Even now she was calculating. "Dad, this is a misunderstanding," she said. "You weren't locked in. The door sticks sometimes. You know that." Regret turned the laptop around. On screen was crystal clear footage of Derek installing the bolt lock. Karen watching. Karen's voice saying, "Not for long." Karen went white. "Those cameras are illegal," Derek said. "You can't record people in their own home without consent." "It's his home," Margaret said without looking at him. "He owns it. He has every legal right to install security cameras in his own property. And for the record, Ontario v. Morrison, established in 2019, states that homeowners may record common areas of their residence without additional consent requirements. You might want to consult an attorney before you cite law you don't understand." An Olmsted County Adult Protective Services investigator stepped forward and placed a document on the table. Emergency order of protection. Karen and Derek were to vacate the property within 4 hours. They were prohibited from contacting me directly. All financial documents in their possession related to my accounts were to be surrendered. Immediately, Karen's hands were shaking. "Dad, please. I wasn't going to hurt you. I was trying to help. You're not well. You need someone to take care of you." I looked at my daughter. This person I had held in the delivery room? This person I had taught to ride a bicycle in the driveway of this house? This person whose college tuition I had paid? Whose wedding I had walked her down the aisle for? Whose phone calls I had waited for every Sunday after Gloria died? "Karen," I said, "I spent 28 years investigating people who did exactly what you did. I know every word you're about to say before you say it. I've heard them all. I was trying to help. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. It's not what it looks like. I've heard them from strangers. I never thought I'd hear them from you." She started crying. Real tears. That was the worst part. The tears were real, even if nothing else had been. "You have for hours," Margaret said. Derek tried one more time. "Mr. Malloy, if you'd just let us explain the financial situation." "We're in debt. Significant debt. The insurance business isn't what it used to be. We were trying to find a solution that worked for everyone. A solution that involved locking me in a bedroom and forcing me to sign over legal control of my assets. It wasn't force. It was persuasion." "Derek," Margaret said flatly. "Stop talking." They packed in silence. Karen filled 3 suitcases. Derek loaded the car. Neither of them looked at me. At the door, Karen turned around one last time. "I'm still your daughter." "Yes," I said. "That's the part that hurts." The door closed. The house went quiet. Margaret sat with me for an hour afterward. She made coffee in my kitchen, and we sat at the table where Gloria used to do her crossword puzzles every morning. "How are you feeling?" Margaret asked. "Hungry?" I said. "I've been eating saltine crackers for 6 days." She ordered Thai food. We ate pad see ew at the dining room table and didn't talk about Karen or Derek or the cameras or any of it. We talked about Gloria, about a fishing trip the 4 of us took to Lake Superior in 2008, about how Gloria always overcooked the walleye and nobody ever told her. After Margaret left, I walked through my house slowly. The master bedroom. Gloria's magnolia tree visible through the window. The study. The guest room, where I'd spent 6 days staring at the ceiling. I reached up and unscrewed the smoke detector. Took out the camera, held it in my palm. This little piece of plastic and wire that had saved everything. I went to Gloria's grave the following Sunday. Same as always. You were right, I told her headstone. I never should have put the suspicion away. It wasn't suspicion. It was pattern recognition. And it kept me safe. The wind moved through the magnolia trees along the cemetery path. I chose to believe she heard me. That was 5 months ago. The county attorney filed charges against Karen. False imprisonment. Attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Forgery in the 2nd degree. Derek was charged with conspiracy to commit financial exploitation and unlawful restraint. Their case is pending. I've been told they're negotiating plea deals. I've been told Karen cries in every meeting with her attorney. I don't know if that's true. I don't attend. Margaret checks on me every week. She brings coffee from the good place on Broadway. We sit on the porch even when it's cold, the way Gloria and I used to. Margaret doesn't fill the silence with noise. She understands that sometimes quiet is what a house needs after it's been loud for the wrong reasons. Last month, I received a letter from Karen, handwritten. 3 pages. I read the first line. Dad, I know you probably won't read this, but I need you to understand the pressure we were under. I stopped there, folded it, put it in the drawer. I don't hate my daughter. That's the thing people don't understand when I tell this story. Hate would be easier. Hate is clean and simple. What I feel is something heavier. The specific grief of watching someone you raised choose to become someone you spent your career putting in handcuffs.